Long before the name Maleficent was whispered, her shadow haunted fairy tales. Part goddess, part monster, and entirely unforgettable. In this episode, we'll trace her evolution through story, myth, and history, from ancient enchantress to the dark fairy we know today. The story begins long before Aurora ever slept, in a feast among goddesses. In the medieval French romance Persephorist, 3 divine women dine together. When one is offered a lesser knife, she takes offense, and destiny itself is set in motion. From that moment on, the story would echo through every retelling. An uninvited guest, a curse, mistaken for prophecy. Before she was Maleficent, she was Caraboss. Before Caraboss, she was the old fairy, the wise woman uninvited, the goddess who spoke of fate. Her story is not one of a single villain, but 1,000 voices, woven through myth, medieval art, and the flicker of a 1959 animation cell. This is the Tapestry of Thorns, from which Maleficent was born. Every version of this tale wrestles with the same question: who has the right to shape destiny? In a world where men ruled kingdoms and women wove fates, the act of speaking truth could turn a woman into a monster. The first true shape of Sleeping Beauty appears in Persephorist, written in 14th century France. It tells of the goddess Themis, insulted by a royal slight, who curses Princess Celadine to an enchanted sleep. It was meant as a prelude to Arthurian legend, a bridge between myth and monarchy. Its goddesses not yet saints, its curses not yet fairy tales. It belongs to a world where women embodied both creation and catastrophe. 3 centuries later, in 17th century Italy, Giambattista Basile reforged the tale in Sun, Moon, and Talia. The curse becomes darker, sleep becomes death, prophecy turns to tragedy, and the woman's fate is written not by fairies, but by astrologers and kings. In 1697 France, Charles Perrault softened the story in The Sleeping Beauty in the Wood. Now there are 7 fairies, a christening feast, and 1 forgotten invitation. A slight that sparks the old fairy's wrath. Her vengeance is no longer cosmic, but courtly, a quarrel at the table of royalty. More than a century later, the Brothers Grimm would retell it again as Little Briar Rose. This time, there were 12 golden plates, 13 wise women, and 1 left out. The 13th arrives uninvited, bringing not a gift, but retribution. In every century, she bears a new name: Themis, Nemesis, perhaps Eris. But her sin remains the same: to speak what kings do not wish to hear. It was not until the stage that she truly gained her form. During the lifetime of Perrault, another French writer, Madame d'Aulnoy, wrote The Princess Mayblossom. She gave her dark fairy a name: Caraboss. 2 centuries later, Tchaikovsky's 1890 ballet, The Sleeping Beauty, transformed Caraboss into a towering presence. Regal, angular, wrapped in black and red. Her entrance froze the court mid-celebration. For the first time, her anger had music. The ballet story would later be mirrored almost exactly by Disney's film. A christening, fairies bestowing blessings, a dark figure entering uninvited, and one kind fairy trying to soften the curse. It's hard to imagine Sleeping Beauty without its music. Tchaikovsky's crashing dissonance propelling every emotion, from the stillness of the court to the flare of fury. When we watch the 1959 Maleficent, we can almost see the stage beneath her. Her movements are deliberate, her entrances exaggerated and theatrical, her gestures regal and commanding. She isn't simply a witch. She's a performer, a queen of her own making. She's hauntingly beautiful and intimidating. Yet we long to command the room as she does. Caraboss never breathed fire. or sprouted wings like the dragon queens of ancient mythology. But she rolled the stage like an empress of vengeance. From her silhouette, and from that music, Disney summoned Maleficent. In her new form, the fairy gained a kingdom, a court of goblins, and a familiar, a crow whose sharp eyes extended her reach. Then came the dragon, an invention of pure cinematic myth. Green fire replaced red passion, the cold, merciless wrath of a woman scorned. When Disney's animators resurrected the old fairy, they turned back to the Middle Ages for inspiration. Mark Davis sketched her robes from the flames of medieval manuscripts. Ivan Earle painted her world like a tapestry come alive. Every tree and thorn drawn from 15th century art. A famous 15th century illuminated manuscript, commissioned by the Duke of Berry, lent her its palette. Violet shadows, acid green fire, and the deep blue of illuminated night. Her horns echo the medieval escoffion, a horned headdress worn by noblewomen. Her collar recalls the shape of painted devils in church margins, symbols of pride and rebellion. Her face, sharp and haunting, drew inspiration from the actress Mila Nurmi, Vampira. Her eyes hollowed by shadow, her cheekbones cut like glass. And then came her voice. Eleanor Audley, who had already chilled audiences as Cinderella's stepmother, gave Maleficent her elegant menace. Aristocratic, poised, and unforgettable. By the film's end, Maleficent is more than a character. She's a living symbol. The spindle, the wheel of destiny, the thorns, time itself guarding innocence. The crow, the eye that sees what others deny. The dragon, fury unbound. And her green fire, not earthly flame, but envy, magic, illumination. While all versions of Sleeping Beauty share the same thread, the sleeping princess, the curse, the awakening, the Maleficent we know stands apart. The original tale was no innocent dream. In Basile's Sun, Moon, and Talia, the princess is not kissed awake, but violated in her sleep, her children nearly eaten, her rival burned alive. Sleeping Beauty was born in darkness. Over time, her story softened, as did so many of the Brothers Grimm tales. The violence erased, the trauma forgotten. The maiden became pure innocence, her suffering rewritten. Yet while the heroine's tale was tamed, the villain's tale grew darker. Disney did not erase the shadow, they crowned it. Cloaked in black and violet, Maleficent became the mistress of all evil, beautiful, terrifying, utterly in control. We knew nothing of her past, yet we felt her wrath, her grace, her scorn. We feared her. We envied her. We were captivated by her. And perhaps that's why, decades later, audiences longed to know her story, not to silence her, but to understand her. In the 2014 live-action retelling starring Angelina Jolie, she rises again, betrayed and broken, her wings stolen by a former lover, her heart hardened. The curse becomes a wound of grief, not malice. The monster becomes the mirror. Aurora, once the sleeping child, becomes proof that innocence can forgive what vengeance cannot heal. And Maleficent, the uninvited guest of every version before, finally finds her seat at the table. Together they dissolve the old dichotomy of good and evil, showing instead that love and rage can share the same heart. When we step back, we see what the tale has always been trying to tell us. The spindle turns, the wheel of fate spins on, and every woman must one day touch the point of her own becoming. The thorns that once enclosed the castle are not punishment, but protection, boundaries drawn by survival. Maleficent's story began as a curse, but ends as a reclamation. This is not the Caraboss of the ballet, nor the nameless fairy of Perrault. This Maleficent carries the spirit of Maleficent, the medieval fairy who turned into a dragon and flew away in sorrow after her husband's betrayal. Her rage is ancient, her sorrow mythic, her power undeniable. Off-screen and out of text, perhaps she was never a sorceress at all. Perhaps she was a prophet. In the medieval world, the stars themselves spoke of destiny. Astrology was a science, astronomy divine. Kings employed astrologers to read their fates, but when those fates displeased them, truth became treason. Women who saw too much were silenced, burned, or banished. Seen through that lens, Maleficent's curse feels less like malice and more like prophecy. A vision of destiny mistaken for defiance. And that too is her legacy. She stands with every woman punished for knowing too much, the seers and the sibyls, the wives imprisoned, the queens undone. History's Joan of Navarre and Eleanor Cobham were condemned for sorcery. A real-life Sleeping Beauty, Queen Catherine of Valois, had her embalmed body displayed for centuries. Morgan Le Fay and Lady Macbeth, reshaped by men's pens into warnings. And countless forgotten women who dared to speak and were branded dangerous. Maleficent is all of them, the goddess, the witch, the mother, the muse. She is the uninvited power at every feast, the truth that cannot be destroyed, the flame that refuses to die. Her tale reminds us that even in the oldest stories, power never truly sleeps. She has become the muse of all women misunderstood by history. The prophetess, the seer, the witch, the uninvited. Every age remakes her, and every time, she burns more beautifully than before. And her fire still burns in the women whose stories we've yet to tell. This has been Meet the Muse. If her tale spoke to you, like and subscribe to stay with me for the next story. The real Sleeping Beauty, the queen who refused to fade into legend. Together we'll follow her through history. In a more historical episode, we'll reconstruct the effigy of Catherine of Valois, followed by a dark retelling of Sleeping Beauty, where legend and royalty meet once more.